Welcome to Breaking the Pattern, a podcast where we believe anything is possible when people put their minds to the test. Our mission is to help folks optimize their daily lives and reach their full potential by changing mindsets and creating small habits that have huge impacts. Our quest, help people break harmful patterns of the past and move forward with a new outlook and a new way. I'm your host, Peyton Rose, and I'm joined by my co-host, Cody Schiestel. Hello, Cody.
Hey, Peyton.
How's it going?
Not too bad.
Fantastic. Today we're starting a new series in our podcast library. This series is dedicated to the business side of things. 20 years of business experience in 30 minutes. We're going to be talking about how to transition away from your W-2 employment and move towards entrepreneurship. How we clocked out of our 9-to-5s. So, I would like to preface this by saying that starting your own business can't be just about making money. And it can't be just about quitting your W-2 job. You must, I would say, have a bigger vision, something bigger and greater that you can push towards that's going to allow you to take that real step into entrepreneurship, right?
And most people aren't willing to do what it takes to, quit their 9-to-5. It takes a different kind of mindset that takes a lot more effort than just showing up to work and taking orders.
I think you said essentialist mindset, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a huge amount of mental drain that just comes and simply thinking about the direction of your startup.
Yep.
And a lot of people are uncomfortable with the risk that comes from managing a team and taking all that time to go for it. And especially when you don't have like an immediate return on your effort.
Yeah, delayed gratification is exactly what is the name of the game. Yeah.
And like there's a huge thing that a lot of people starting out, which is this 80-20 concept, and you think you can do everything, and that actually harms your progress by trying to do everything. And I'm one of the worst about it. It's like I'm such a DIYer, and it's just like
right.
Everything can be done myself.
Yes.
It's just and so I guess the cool thing about this 80-20 principle is if you really just can outsource that 80% and just try to really focus on the 20% that you're best at, it perpetually opens up new windows. Now that you've cleared that 80% off your plate and you're looking at this 20, now there's a new 80-20, and that and so on and so forth. And that's really when you see a lot of these teams and a lot of these people that just do an ungodly amount of stuff, and you're like, how do they do that? And it's like they've mastered that
Yep.
principle right there.
Yep.
In short.
Yeah. Well, and I want to back that up because you have a note in here about how, let me see if I can find it, how showing up to a W-2 and collecting a paycheck becomes very enticing, right? When you're considering the responsibilities of determining all of this. Like the 80-20 principle, that is a part of a part of the setup. That's a part of the planning process, identifying, right? And so just the concept of saying, okay, I'm going to leave this perceptibly comfortable place in a W-2 employment. You show up, clock in, clock out, collect your paycheck, pay your taxes, put a little bit in your 401k, hope that, in 25, 30 years, you're going to have enough to retire on and outlive your retirement, right? So that, on the surface, that's all looks very enticing. And I think you've got a great point in kind of saying that, like, okay, how do you determine that you're going to move to that next step, right? Like, what determines that? And it's not, we always go back to, it's not for the faint of heart. This isn't for everybody.
And then when you're starting out, especially, like you've really got to eat the cost on like health insurance and stuff.
Right.
You got to go get that privately. And I mean, good luck. You're lucky if you're, only paying 30% more than you'd be for the same stuff through a company at a W-2 job.
And there's, I think that also kind of brings up a point that this really depends on where you are in your life. I always go back to that, like this, what stage of your life you're in at any given point, and when you decide to make this transition. I personally, if I could go back 20 years, I would have absolutely taken the step toward entrepreneurship earlier. Of course, I don't. You can't act on something you don't know. I had no idea really about the power of taking that step, and it took me 20 years in and out of corporate life, working in different industries, working in different verticals. It took me 20 years to find that for me to really, really be happy and be fulfilled in life, I was going to have to forge my own path. I wasn't going to be able to rely on a corporate entity to provide me with happiness, with security, with peace of mind, with something that I was really, really excited to grow towards and go towards, right? So that's, a point I would always make. It depends on what stage you are in your life, how you're going to take these steps, right? One of the things that I want to definitely say is I don't and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would speak for both of us in saying you don't have to quit your job just right out. You don't have to go in tomorrow and give your boss a 2-week. We're not promoting like walking in tomorrow and just giving your 2 weeks and saying I'm going to figure it out. This takes planning. It takes time, and I would propose you keep your W-2 as long as you need to. Work in those after hours. Work in the margins.
Man, I will tell you though that was one of the hardest things for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was working a 9-to-5 at a law firm, doing digital marketing there, and then trying to make sure everything was top notch and right and tight with our agency at the same time.
Right.
That was very, very hard to do. It would be it's not easy to start a business while you're working a W-2 full time.
It's not. Yep.
For a lot of industries, it's probably not even possible.
Yep.
I think digital marketing, it's a really good industry to try to get that started in, just simply because most of the work is not has to happen at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and if it does, it's something you can schedule out.
Right.
Good luck starting a concrete business or something while you're working a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
Just of all the conflicts that would come in on the scheduling. On that.
Yeah. Now I would argue that you could do the planning. You could do the planning to set the foundation so that you could go in, but I would worry about quitting just cold turkey and trying to start something new, right? But starting the planning, yeah, you're right. I mean, depending on the space, depending on the time and place that you're in, it's very complex kind of a concept if you get too far into it. And of course, there always is the argument that you just got to take the dive, and that's for sure. At some point, if you're gonna go out and remove yourself, transition away from a W-2, you will have to take the dive. So there is at some point where you're gonna walk into your boss's office, give them your 2-week, and say, "Hey, I'm moving on to greener pastures," right? So yeah,
and just coming speaking for me and Peyton both on this, if you've got this burning desire to do your own shit and make your own stuff, and that you don't want to build someone else's stuff up, that's not going to be different 10 years from now.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you think you're freaking 45, too old to do this, well, guess what? 10 years from now, you'll still be 10 years older, whether
Yep.
you've done this or not.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and you still will have that burning desire, except with a little bit of regret.
Yep. That's correct. Yeah. I've always loved that concept that time's going to continue to pass. Whether or not you take action, you're going to be 10 years older. Like that concept to me is like so powerful. It's like so powerful. It's like, okay, I'm going to be 10 years older in 10 years. Why not have accomplished some things? And at the same time, I'm not downing W-2. For some folks, it is amazing, and it works, and it fits their lifestyle, their schedule. It allows them to have that social aspect that comes with a corporate environment. It allows you to have freedoms. It allows for the steady, consistent vacations and bonuses, and and you are for certain working up a ladder in a corporate environment if you so choose, right? So it's not. I don't want to say that W-2. I mean, obviously, corporations make small business turns into corporations. That makes the world go around. That what small businesses I feel run the world. Corporations they keep things moving as far as commerce, technology, innovation, right? But there are a lot of us out here who do have a burning desire to try to forge our own paths and to go out and take those, seemingly risk-heavy moves that are going to put us on a path towards independence. Now, that being said, like with what you were talking about earlier, and before we started the podcast, having those systems put into place, right? Starting to figure out like, how am I going to structure this? How are we as a team or as partners, or how am I as a solopreneur going to structure this so that I can actually have a business that does gain market share and does gain traction and does make income, so that I can actually do this without going to bed completely stressed. And now that being said, you're going to go to bed stressed, I feel like, for the first 5 years, no questions asked.
This is a good transition into some of the questions that we had submitted to us. We had what mindset shifts do you have to make to transition from employee to entrepreneur mindset?
Yeah. Well, and as a first question, great question, right? What kind of shifts do you have to have in your mindset? So one, I would say identifying who you are as a personality type, because we got the 3 personality types in business. You got visionary, operator, and processor, right? So understanding who you are in those personality types is going to be a major, major step in the right direction. It's going to give you a bigger concept on like, okay, for instance, so there's 3 types of people. The visionary, big picture thinker, someone who's driving ideas, driving innovation. An operator is somebody that puts innovation into movement, right? That gets things done. Operators are folks who are very task-oriented, know how to set goals and reach them, and take the steps that are actually going to make those goals accomplished. And then you have the processor, who keeps the visionary and the operator organized and on track, right? So I think understanding those 3 components and which one you are is going to allow you to take that first step. Like, that's going to help you to shift your mindset. So first, understand who you are. Am I a visionary? Am I an operator? Am I a processor? And depending on which one I am, how do I find the other 3 personality types, or the other 2 personality types, to help me move my idea forward? A processor can have an idea. It's not to say that processors can have ideas, right? Or operators, but you're going to need those other 2 personality types, depending on who you are, to help you move the idea forward, right?
And so me and Peyton years ago found a really good nuance with our duo. Mm-hmm. He's a visionary at heart, and just really scales out on a lot of these. And then I'm an operator at heart, and like I'm really good at bringing a lot of those ideas, and then also shooting down all the bad ones and reaffirming the good ones. and uh, we both have tendencies towards the other two. So like I've got a little bit of visionary in me. He's got a good amount of operator in him, and so there's this just nuance and understanding that that you get from that, and that gets you very far. We
Right. Yeah.
we're kind of hitting a wall with needing a really solid processor at
Right.
this point.
Yep.
We've been really able just to scale up to this point by the seat of the pants per se, where you just got a visionary operator just.
Yep. And just as he said, you need all three types to ensure a business has success, right? So right now, visionary operator, visionary, we are looking for a processor, and that's, I think, such a great point, because you can't just have a visionary and operator and reach the level of success, or visionary and processor, or processor and operator, right? You can't just have two of the three. It has to be all three to actually really propel the business. Each function, each personality balances the others out, right? Yeah, so that's, mindset shift is understanding that. And then I would say you got to develop, if you don't have grit, you got to develop grit. I think W-2 in certain environments you can put on the cruise control and kind of roll with W-2, and you potentially, depending on the environment you're in, heavy growth environments can be almost, too stressful, but you've got to develop the grit necessary to go out and build a business. And it's going to be tough. And you're going to have to callous your mind, in the words of Goggins, right? To be able to, when these hurdles come, when these obstacles come, which they are going to, you got to be able to maneuver them. And that takes grit. Grit's huge, in my opinion. Yeah, good question. So yeah, these are some questions that came in. We solicited some folks to kind of help us out who were in that position of thinking about W-2s, and wanted to get their questions and their ideas and be able to kind of answer some of the stuff that they've, maybe is challenging them. So here's another good one that I like. So this is kind of concrete. Can you walk us through the initial steps you took once you decided to start Alpha Wave? Okay, so initial steps. Well, I would say it starts with, for us, the vertical. What is the service, right? Obviously, I guess that's, you could consider that, of course, you got to find the service, but there are so many ways that, and so many ideas out there. Deciding on one single solitary idea and getting really focused on providing a service that is a function of need, right? So that's right. You want to go on? You want to talk a little bit about that?
And really, like what we kind of discovered, like you kind of are settling for chump pay until you specialize in a very specific area.
Yep.
Like we went and played around with medical, with politics, with e-commerce, and home improvement, and we really found a good niche in home improvement, and the scalability of it really came out of what reputation we made in that industry, in that marketing area.
Yep. I would definitely say that was very, very important in the development of it, for sure. This is one I just found I like. So what was the turning point that made you decide to leave your W-2 jobs and start your own company? I guess that's backing it up, but I love that one. What was the turning point? So what was your turning point? What do you feel was your turning point?
Well, I have always wanted to do something myself and make something myself, and I would go and build build out different things for different people, and there's this energy that I, I I only ever find when I'm like the best comparison I can give is like when I'm making my own bath. Let's say I'm remodeling the bathroom in my own home. There's a level of concern and care and passion that I have for it that is absent when I'm doing it for someone else.
Skin in the game, right? Yeah, that's a good, well put there. I 100% feel that. Absolutely. I think I'd say for me, very similar to that. It's, not that I don't love helping others. I mean, I think that's at the core of what we do. Helping good people do good things, right? That's our core. Help good people do good things. But same for me, like to be honest, I struggled with that overall like corporate philosophical facade. I mean, I was in, 20 years in and out of corporations, right? And you go into a corporation and it's like, this is all family, and like you're welcome to the family, and this is, you're a part of our corporate family now. We're gonna, we've always got each other's back, right?
The owner of the last W-2 job I worked at told me that he loves me.
Right, yeah, right, yeah. But then, all right, so then you get this, you get this message. And when there's a dip in stakeholder equity, all of a sudden, all the employees become completely, what's the word, whenever you can be just swapped out or completely eliminated all at once? Like
interchangeable,
yeah, like they get replaceable, like moot, unnecessary, right? So that always irked me, is that, there was this concept of like, we've all got each other's back, and we're all, but in reality, we are doing a job and getting paid a check and getting paid a value, and whatever we set our value at for that job, that's it. That's nothing more.
And if you died, they'd have you replaced in 14 days.
No, less than that. I think they could do 2 days. 2 days. I think they can have somebody else in there just to fill the seat, right? And so that always. It was always a conflict with me, and I always struggled with that. And I wanted to create something where, one, we're doing something, we're bringing people who love to do what they do into our environment, right? Into our funnel, into our ecosystem. And then two, we're rewarding ourselves on operating, on getting these things done, on coming up with these visions and getting these things done. And we know that it's a contract, and we love the contract. We know it's a game, right? We know that the game we're playing is to help our clients grow. And if we don't win that game, then we're not employed. Skin in the game, right? So for me, that was something that I'm with you on that. Like, I love having skin in the game. I cannot put life on cruise control and just head down the highway. I need to find a mountain and climb it, right? And then come down on the other side. So for me, it was very similar to yours. I like the follow-up here. How'd you overcome the fear and uncertainty that came with that decision, and did a magic 8-ball help? Right? Yeah, so like overcoming the fear, that's something, it's a great question, because to me, the overcoming is taking the step. You're never going to actually like get rid of the fear truly. Like, you're never going to really overcome the fear. You're just going to take steps into that fear and operate in that uncomfortable space, right? Because it's just like a series of uncomfortable moments from then on, right? Until you really get things in place, which, years later, you're finding every time you put a new, process in place or a person in place to kind of help you, you realize it opens up a new set of challenges, right? Which is awesome. And that's something, like, forever being challenged, like, as far as fear. It's like, I love living in that little uncertainty, right? And for me, I think that uncertainty, so many people believe that entrepreneurship, going after, those things that you really believe in, that there's this total uncertainty there and there's no stability. My argument is that corporate job that you have, that W-2, there is zero stability in that. Like I said earlier, if stakeholder equity drops, you're gone. That's just all there is to it. And that you could be in that job for 20 years, which if you are in that job for 20 years, you're not going to be paid properly over that 20 years, the course of you're going to be 20 years from when you started your job, unless you've climbed to president, most of the time, and even if you have, I don't believe you're going to get paid compensatory to the amount of work and time you spent. They do better with just keeping you at the job and giving you small incremental raises that equal 10-15% over a large course of time. They have more stake in that, right? And if they need to, they can drop you. So for me, I don't believe that there's a lot of certainty and a lot of stability in W-2s as well. So why not go after that thing that's been in the back of your mind?
Yeah, it's definitely to take this to on a note of the like family life and stuff. This you know, especially with all of the expectations that are usually put to a man, this can really put a good strain on your relationship.
Absolutely.
You know, your significant other would be typically expecting you to, you know, provide a plurality or an equal amount in your you know, to the table. And when you're getting one of these startups going on, that it can be fluctuating.
Absolutely.
You know, or just minimum, and like you could just be spending hours and hours and hours of time, and you'll get you know, if you don't have the right partner with you, I mean, they're just going to put you down, and they're going to you know, and you really really got to make sure that that you don't end up with anyone like that.
Well, I would say it's one of the biggest. That is one of the, if not possibly, especially if you're in a relationship or going to enter a relationship, your plus one, your better half, your other person, your partner, is the most important variable I think that exists. Besides who you're working with, right? Your business people, the people you've got, your partner, or you know, the functions that you've created in your business, right? The people you have sitting in those seats, absolutely, of course. But then, behind that, if you're exactly right. If you don't have a person that's supportive, and that's the thing. I think another big deal with like entrepreneurs and like the way that we kind of our minds work is like, you know, like I've always said this, like I don't need a bunch of pats on the back. I just don't. I can't have somebody saying like everything you do fails, or you know, you're destined to fail here, or you know, like there's no way. How could you ever believe you would be able to accomplish something like that, right? Like that's all I, you know, really require is somebody that's just saying, hey man, got your back. I got your back, just like I've got theirs, right? And I think we're both lucky in that. In like our you know, my wife and your soon to be wife, right, have both like been very supportive. I know your wife, like I would say there was some doubt, right, at some point, you know.
Yeah, a little skepticism.
Yeah, which is understood.
Yeah, and it definitely can put some strain on your relationship. It's like, you know, there's some expectations that you know, that you're supposed to bring to the table.
Yep.
And when and not only if you're talking about just cold turkey dropping a W-2 and then going to $20,000 a year,
right,
first, you know, for the first, but so putting that aside, like even just like trying to work on your business while you're a W-2, or well, what does that involve?
Oh my God,
removing all of the available time that you had free available to spend with them, working on that business. And then it's you know, convincing of them that this is worth it in the long run. You know, and like a lot of women feel like, you know, you're not paying attention to them or caring about them, and it's like, no, hold up,
Yeah.
I am,
Yeah.
but it's long term.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah. I get the same. I mean, and that's the other. It goes back to like, and that's where like having a partner that's with you and like can walk through those hurdles with you, like knowing that you have this long-term plan, right? And also this is something that I struggle. I mean, I still get the same, like, are you present? My wife is like, you're just not present right now. And it's like, I know, right? Like, I know that, like, I'm in like 6 places, and that's like, I need to hone this. So like getting time management, right? Or I like to look at it more like, forget time management. I mean, time management is critical. However you want to kind of classify how you use your time, like calendar worship. It's something I'm big on. You're big on like blocks of time that we operate in, right? However you want to structure that, but being able to turn the stuff off when you need to, which is tough because balance doesn't exist in entrepreneurship, and anyone that tells you that it can is fucking lying to you. Right? Like it doesn't. You're gonna have times of balance and you're gonna have times of imbalance. Like that's just the way it is. And I hate to say that, but there's no way to get through that first year, 2 years, 3 years without having some imbalance. You're going to be up at 4:45 in the morning or up until 3:30 in the morning. You're going to be working crazy hours. Now, I would say that going through this process, you need to be evolving towards a more stable place and a more place where like work and life have a more symbiotic relationship. Not necessarily balanced, because we know it's not going to be balanced all the time, but like how do they all intermingle? How does work and personal life, how does it all work together? Because another thing that we hear all the time is turning off work. I don't care if you're in a W-2, you don't turn work off. You don't have 2 personalities you're working with. You don't have a work personality you and then a personal personality you, right? Like you're the same person whether you go into work or come home. So there is no like, oh, I'm just going to shut off the work me and then turn into the personal me. Especially if you're a person that's striving, right? That's pushing to greater things. So for me, it's like figuring out how to make it all work together and knowing there are going to be some imbalances and some balances. Sometimes everything's going to be in perfect symmetry, and sometimes it's going to be total chaos. What's another one here? How did you identify? Oh, here we go. I like this one. How did you identify the market need or opportunity that AlphaWave addresses? And the follow-up is, what research or validation did you conduct before fully committing to your business idea? Did you just Google it? Or was there more to it? That's a good one. Mm-hmm. A really good one. It's a very important one. Okay, so do you want to start on that one?
Yeah. So, I mean, a really good part of our discovery here, learning of who type of businesses and who we want to work with, is once you're dealing with an entity that's generating 10 million a year or so, there's a lot of these like smaller expenses that end up being 0.00001% of your yearly revenue or stuff. And right. Then as compared to if you're working with someone who's got 100,000 revenue coming in their company, that same expense could be 15% of their yearly revenue.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to digital marketing, a lot of the scalability comes in repeatable data points that can get collected and utilized, and then so when you're dealing with when you're dealing with a small budget, like say like 10,000 a year or something, the difference between that and spending 100,000 is not, with all the data that you can collect from that, it's not simply you're getting 10 times more. Like it
right.
is
Absolutely.
40, 50,
Yep.
80 times because of the data that we
Compounding effect.
Compound from it.
Yep. I would say also that because leading up to that point, your point there, right? We did start bootstrapping with those kinds of budgets, with nearly no budget. Sometimes, like we were just creating like results out of nothing, right? So, but we knew very early on. I think that lends to your point that we knew very early on that we needed to reach scale to be able to experience what we were trying to build, right? We had to our goal was to get to that scalable point, right? So what we did was we actually, like he was saying earlier, we worked in several verticals. And what we looked for, I think, what we looked for in the beginning was exactly that. It was the need, the market need, right? So we found solutions out there that was like, whoa, this is a proven market need. Let's help these folks. And a lot of times it was startups. So it was people with no money, right? And so we would, or a little bit of money, which is all good. We all start in the same place, right? So everybody starts there. And so our first steps were straight up bootstrapping and creating solutions, and then taking our learnings and moving that to, the next level and the next level and the next level. But I think the number one thing that we stood beside was, is there a market? Is there a need? Are people asking for this? So like a good idea, just, coffee talk, good idea. Like, oh, I got this great idea. And, it's this widget, right? Well, our question always was, what's the demand for that widget? Have you done your research on the demand? Is there demand? Do you even know if somebody wants this solution? And so anyone we took on, we actually would do research and try to figure out, like, hey, what's the market demand here? Is this worth our time? And then, right, we start getting into places where, like healthcare, everyone's going to need healthcare. Home improvement, everyone's going to need home improvement. As long as there are homes being bought, sold, and lived in, there's going to be home improvement. So for us, those verticals, and then there was some, I guess, fortuity, like there was some good luck, and there were good results. There was a lot of hard work, right? But at the core of it, it was like, we know that people are going to need these things, and there's a proven need for it, right? So definitely, I would say, make sure that there is a demand for whatever it is you're getting into, because trying to just create a demand out of thin air is very, very, very difficult unless you have tons and tons and tons of money. And even then, we see it all the time where big funds go just dead broke because they tried to make a solution that nobody really needed or wanted, right? And that's a good question. That's a really good question. All right, what else we got? Oh, I got another one here. So, are you ready for this one? This is for you too, for sure. What skills or knowledge did you find essential to learn or improve upon as new entrepreneurs? Follow up. How did you go about acquiring those skills or knowledge? This is phenomenal. How did you go about acquiring those skills or knowledge? And did you find out if sleep is actually optional?
So the skills that you really need can be more or less done with Google and YouTube searches. At least for
what we're doing,
digital marketing. I often ponder if my value in business is beyond the sheer amount of hours that it would take someone else to Google the information that I've Googled. Frankly, what's most essential is going in and what is it? Getting the ropes, learning the ropes,
learning the ropes.
whatever.
Getting in the reps.
Yeah,
Doing the work.
Because you're not going to until you do. You're not going to have it until you do. I mean, you just like with a doctor. I mean, they can spend all the not that I'm comparing myself to a doctor.
Right.
They can spend all the time in the world on the computer and do a million surgeries, but they don't know nothing about how to cut someone open until they really
they could read about a million surgeries, but until they actually go.
You're not an expert at
skin the scalpel.
You're not an expert at appendix surgery until you've cut someone open and performed the surgery. And there's a lot of things that come with just going through the motions on that. Like you can't get a 4-year college course is nothing. Where I am now, having worked in digital marketing for 8 years, I would value someone who's worked at a business for 3 months more than a 4-year marketing degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're both formally educated. We both have college degrees, right?
College degrees.
And have we ever asked anyone about where they studied or what their degree was in? No. What have you done out here in the wild, right?
Yep.
What have you done, right? Now that being said, you've got interns. You bring people in. You want to bring people in, like you and I got connected on an internship early on. But that was you saying, "Hey, I'm going to go get practical knowledge. I'm going to put all the stuff I learned into practical," and I had to do the same thing, right? And so, I couldn't agree more. You are absolutely right in the fact that, having real life experience is everything. And I would go on to add, you're also there is nothing out here really that you can't figure out, that you can't learn about. I don't care what it is. If you have the drive and the want and the passion to learn about something, you can go figure it out. You can learn it, and especially with the amount of information available on the internet. Because guess what? It's not just about going to Google and typing in an answer and then reading whatever AI generated response it is, and that's going to give you the education. No, what you're going to do is find that there are books that you need to go get and read. And there are courses that you need to take and pass that are free. The books may cost you a little. Well, actually, the books, go get your state's library app, and you can get all these books for free. By the way, just a little hack there. You don't have to have Audible, though I've got Audible.
If you're a pirate, arg.
I can't condone any of that. I don't know what he's talking about. But what we're saying essentially is that this knowledge is out there and it is free. You just have to be willing to go through the hours. Because I remember, man, I was straight up working and studying until 1 a.m., waking up at 6 to go, door knocking in sales, B2B, one call closes, right? And then get back home, get the kids to bed, back in the office at 11 p.m. till 1 a.m. again, and then up at 4:45, 4:30 so that I could get 2 or 3 hours of learning or something in that's going to propel me forward. Then boom, start my day, right? So I couldn't agree more. It really is. I'm saying it's willpower and the willingness to go out there and take the steps to learn what you need to learn. What I found is, once you start on the path and you really are dedicated to learning, new doors just keep opening up. And it's this author sends you on this, and this person sends you on this quest, and this person sends you on this quest. And before you know it, you've got this wonderful library of knowledge and I would say, again, back to it, just reading and just learning doesn't mean shit, right? It doesn't. You can read and learn all you want, but until you put it into practical application, that's where rubber meets the road and things are actually going to happen, is when you take these knowledge sets and actually apply them. I started the whole concept off one book. I read one book and was like, okay, I got an idea. And then I started putting things in place, right? One book started it all for me. And I'll always remember that. It didn't take, and that's why I do say, read, because who knows where that one little thing, that one little nugget of truth or one little nugget of influence is going to show up and start it all for you, right? So you have to be voracious about getting that education, because you never know where the inspiration is really going to come from. Right?
You know what? I will bring this back to support network and whatnot. So, like one huge transition that I've really seen in my life in the past 5 years is like, you used to go to the bar and just like to shoot shit, bitch about the day. Oh, look at that pretty girl. And then it's kind of made a full transition to like, if I'm going out, like we're talking business opportunities, we're talking bragging about to each other about different ways we save tax money on different things that we've done, and like it's just like those two groups, they are not the same,
right?
That there's a very true concept. What you are, the aggregate, you are the sum of your friend group,
5 closest people, right? Friend group.
And that it definitely might be a good moment for some self-reflection, maybe, but I definitely just saw night and day on just my mindset compared to then on just those different people that I keep close, and whose opinion I end up taking heed to, like your closest friends. You're going to listen to them, whether whether or not you say you care about their opinions or not. You do. That's why you hang out with them. Why you associate with yourself with your peers.
And I think that opens up a bigger conversation, like, and the uncomfortable part of a really uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people, and it's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to think about, and it's that if you are going to make real changes in your life, and you're in a bad place, or in a place that isn't exactly where you want to be, you got to look around at the 5 people, 6 people, 10 people closest to you, and decide whether or not they are there to help you move to that next level, to elevate, or are they keeping you held back? And it's wild and sucks, what kind of unfurls from that, and what you see whenever you realize, like, oh man, like I've got 5 friends who are definitely not, or 3 friends, or I've got some amount of people around me who are not going to help me propel myself to the next level. And what do I do then? What do you do then? How do you break that relationship?
And I mean, a lot of it will come even organically without any intervention on your own.
That's true.
Like I went back home to my hometown talking with this old friend of mine, and I was asking him and doing a back and forth with him like I do with people who are in my groups here up in Denver, and it almost felt like his eyes kind of glazed over, he works a grill at a fast food joint, and and it's just like sitting here talking to him like, oh, what's we've got going on, and telling him about what I have going on, and then and then he kind of looked at me like I was like bragging or or something like that. And I thought for a while about how I could have put it in a way where it wasn't that way, and I really thought about it deeply, and there's not.
Right. Yeah. Just 2 different levels, right? Yeah. You're just like, this is in your friend groups here, talking about that would just be expected, absolutely part of the norm, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Go and brag about what different developments and advancements and things that improvements that you've made, and he's just like, where's the bottle? Let's get going.
I remember I was talking a same situation. I was talking to a friend, back home, and I was I've gotten so used to, kind of talking in the, the speak that we talk in with the friends that we talk with here. And, I was just, same thing. I was kind of going through like, all the stuff we're doing. And he's like, man, like, is this a thing where you're like, I remember that very specifically, you're really tooting your own horn here. And I was like, dude, if that doesn't say anything about where we're from, right? But, which is the South.
Arkansas.
But it was really funny because I was like, man, I would be expected to kind of bring up, things that I'm doing that are moving me forward in the friend groups that I have now. We don't do a lot of just shooting the shit and small talk. We get right down to it and love, sparring and love talking about ideas and moving things forward. So it's really interesting the way that organically it does. You just kind of migrate away.
The biggest influence on that, is just like, someone who's got shit to do doesn't have time to just shoot some shit.
Right.
There's a purpose. Once you become busy and it's like, it really starts going, okay, maybe my time back then was worth $10 an hour free time. And then it's like, oh shit, there's all this stuff. Then, like those, just I have found myself, I rarely just go out just to like, unless it's with some like, family or close friends. I mean, it's not like, I'm not just going out and hanging out like I did I'm 28. Maybe that's just what happens when you transition from 22 to 28.
No, not always, right? Like not always, for sure. Like,
I guess you're right. Yeah, I know a lot of people my age that are still partying in clubs down in Denver.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I'm 40, and I can guarantee you there are plenty of alcohol drinking all the time weekenders like that are 40 plus, that are absolutely not, have not developed. Well, and they say often, at 35, like you're who you are at 35, like you've developed all you're going to develop often. Right?
I heard that was 27.
Right. Okay. So yeah, exactly. Right. So in some place there, right, like everything's happened that's going to happen, right? And I would say if you allow it. I think anyone has the capacity and the ability to change if they decide they want to. But so many people don't realize that there's no, and maybe don't care that, there has been no change, no uplift for them, right? And they've accepted and or don't know about the fact that, hey man, you're actually supposed to be evolving and changing. There are supposed to be versions of you that are growing towards, I'm going to bring it in, the North Star concept. I've made a note on here. North Star. Hold on. Let me go through this. I actually wrote this one down really hardcore. Okay. All right. So I'm a big believer in the North Star concept, right? So find your North Star. I believe that everyone on the planet should have a North Star. And that can be anything that pushes you to be your best self, right? So it can be, a North Star can be anything that pushes you to become a better version. The North Star looks different for every person. Right? So each person can have a different North Star. But in my opinion, the biggest requirement for North Star work is that the idea pushes you to become a different version of yourself. I would dare say a greater version of yourself. Your North Star creates an elevated criteria for you to live by. Your North Star creates an elevated criteria for you to live by. So that right there, once your North Star is set, and it doesn't have to be, I'm going to change the world. It can be, I want to be the best parent, or I want to be the best friend, or I want to be the type of person that leads others, or I want to be the type of person that goes to the gym 5 days a week. What it really boils down to is becoming the type of person that you want to become, that you see yourself, that better version that you see of yourself, right? So I would argue that the North Star is going to allow, once you've set it, it's going to allow you to organically work out a lot of things in your life, right? Like, so every question, everything you do, if you can get to a point where everything you do is either moving towards your North Star or moving away from it, and you're making a conscious decision at any given point, like I know that tonight I'm going to blow off I'm gonna blow off. I'm gonna go, blow off some steam. We had a crazy week tonight. I'm gonna go blow off some steam with my buddy. We're gonna go to watch a basketball game at a bar and have some beers, right? And we're not gonna talk anything about business. You've made that conscious decision that tonight, North Star, I'm moving away from it for a second. I'll be back in the morning, right? Or, nope. You know what? It's been a long week. I'm gonna go have a run, and I'm gonna, get in some physical exertion, get some release there, and I'm gonna wake up early in the morning and do X, Y, and Z, right? So, but that North Star allows you to now have something to navigate against, right? So you're either going towards it or you're making the conscious decision that, hey, I'm not going to go towards it right now, but you got it there, right? So it's that guiding light that is going to eventually, long term, like you were saying, it's going to eventually push you to become that person that you're supposed to be. So that's something I would definitely, I always push for the North Star. What do you think? I think this has been a good podcast.
Yeah, I think this is a good wrap it up on the North Star.
Yeah. Find your North Star. If you don't walk away from anything, if you want to leave your W-2, the very first thing you have to do, find your North Star. What is it out there that's greater than you? It's going to drive you to be a better version.
Yeah, if you don't have a driving force, there is nothing that's going to keep you moving on the days that you feel sick, on the days that you're not quite up to it. When you're tired at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you're not gonna have any fuel to bring you through that whole night. That would have made you the difference between everything.
Yep. So thanks for joining us on Breaking the Pattern, and welcome to our new series, 20 Years of Business Experience in 30 Minutes. This is our first in the series, how we checked out of our W-2s, how we clocked out of our 9 to 5. Sorry. So this is the first episode in the series, how we clocked out of our 9 to 5s. We thank you again for joining us. I am Peyton Rose. This is Mr. Cody Schiestel, and we will see you next time. Dude, nice. That was fun. You're like, dude, it wasn't recording.
That was fun.
Show me I can do anything. Ask those that know me. I can do anything. I can do anything. Hey yo, that's what my parents told me. I can do anything. That's what experience showed me. I can do anything. Ask those that know me. I can do anything. I can do anything. I got a target in my sights. I'ma hit that. I just keep on going with my plight. I don't quit that. It's a fact. Go back to school, get my master's degree. Nobody gonna reach the top faster than me. Hot coals on my feet. I don't stand still. I can turn Mount Everest to an anthill. I eliminate the waste like a landfill. And no, I won't remember it, but my fans will. I could build a house on a green acre, or learn to fly, still I'm grounded like a teenager. You see it's all in the action, self-motivation, law of attraction, balling and maxing and causing it to happen. You can do it too if you follow in your passion. I'ma keep reaching for my destiny, never letting life get the best of me, cause I can do anything. That's what my parents told me. I can do anything. That's what experience showed me. I can do anything. Ask those that know me. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. That's what my parents told me. I can do anything. That's what experience showed me. I can do anything. Ask those that know me. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything.